Cenat, because he was talking about mental health, which, by the way, I appreciate him just as another streamer. And so I saw his post. Let me on there. Block. I think for him, he did this speech at if anyone knows, there was a there's something called the Streamer Awards, which I didn't know before, but I do now know. And so he was talking. This was his speech that he made that day.
One thing I wanted to say to you guys tonight is I hope a lot of creators in here and everybody at home and the viewers and the streamers really take care of your mental health. I just noticed that recently I just been going through things in my head, and I was able to, turn to anime, Death Note, Naruto, recently since I've been gone, and I just been able to, find happiness within that. But yeah, as for the word of collab, I want to preach to everybody, within our community, us collabing is everything. You feel what I'm saying? So collaboration is everything. And I know this year has been very difficult on the fan bases, the communities, and of streaming in general. And as long as we don't tear each other apart and let that get in between us, we're gonna be just fine. So I appreciate y'all.
Oh. By the way, I'm not too sure what he means about tearing each other apart. Obviously, I must not be in that world of what's going down. However, he did raise an important point, which is about his mental health and what's going through. Which, by the way, I'm very saddened to know that that's what he's dealing with. I don't think it's cool on anyone, big or small, to go through this. And then yesterday he made this tweet, which I think we should read together, because I think it's super important to have this conversation, just in case if you yourself are going through this. I think it's super important, because I think when he kind of talked about it just generically, about making that statement, he kind of did delve a bit deeper about his struggles, which I think is an important conversation to have. So this is his tweet. I was honestly going to save what I'd got to say for when I'm ready to come back, but right now something is telling me to speak up. I'm not sad, I'm not depressed, but I need to bring awareness to mental health after some of the feedback I've been seeing. I know I'll get clowned more for this. A few days ago, I decided to open up a little bit about what I've been thinking, and it's been so much love. But when I've seen that, I guess, some of the negative feedback I received, I got to see a glimpse of why people don't speak up about this more often. I just felt like I would be able to talk to you guys on a more personal level about dealing with self-doubt and living in fear, which is obviously what we're going to speak about in a moment. I think a person like me speaking about this would encourage other people to step up too. So now let me explain how it all started. As I was very consistent in streaming, there were certain times I realised that I was losing touch of reality. I need to take a step back and fully reset. I started to realise I wasn't even spending time with close friends and family behind the scenes as much as I wanted to. I can't imagine the things that people are going through on a deeper level. So for those people, let me speak up a little louder. I don't care if people look at me as a joke. Well, there were a couple of things that he highlighted, which I think is super important. I don't think what he's saying is a joke. I think these are real and very important conversations to be had. I think also he's very, how old is he? He's 24. Oh, he turned 24 recently, bless. He's 24. And I'll say, obviously, everyone kind of knows what he's done in his journey, in the sense of figuring it out and just being basically online. So I guess what he's saying is kind of figuring out certain things. The other thing, actually, I think it's quite important for me to highlight is talking about what he wants to do futurely as well. Because I think it's important for me to mention that as well. Because it then relates to why he said his statement. So let's just watch that for a moment and then Give me a moment. Let me just.
I want to go ahead and say, you guys are way more than just streamers. You guys can achieve anything that you guys want. Don't limit yourself to one category. Don't be boxed in to any category. I don't usually do this, but I feel like at this event right now is the right time to say the things on my mind, and that's, for the past year, I've had dreams besides streaming to achieve and to pursue, and they're big, big dreams. I have dreams one day to become a fashion designer and start my own clothing brand. I have dreams to not only act, but direct and write my own short film and movies. And I'm 100% gonna indulge myself in that while enjoying the place that started all this, which is streaming. And one thing I wanna say is, no matter what, keep God in everything that you do. Do not ever forget about
Snap, snap.
God at all.
Okay. So I think it's super important for me to also highlight what he's talking about. And so having that transition, right? So he mentioned in his message that it was self-doubt, and what was the other word that he used? Self-doubt and living in fear. That's what he said. Which I think is super important, just because it's a normal thing, by the way. This experience that he's feeling, it isn't new. Ain't gonna be the first, and ain't gonna be the last. But it's definitely one of those when you're doing or taking a pivot to something else. It's super normal. It's just kind of understanding and figuring out how to move. And so, as a fellow writer and director, I think I'm gonna have this direct conversation to him as well as to you guys, to be like, I think self-doubt and living in fear comes when you believe something so big that you're like, I don't know how to move. And I think how to solve it, or how to ignore it, I'd say, or get over it, or understand how to be actionable in your way of moving, is basically to just go one foot in front of the other. One foot in front of the other. I think everything that he said that he wanted to do on stage, that being a fashion designer, act, write and direct, achievable. Not only for him, for anyone else that has similar ambitions. And that is just making sure that, I think self-doubt and living in fear, it comes as well comes with when you want to be perfect as well. And so having that perfectionism surrounded by, I want to do this, can also prevent you from doing that. Fear of failure can also prevent you from going down that route. And other kind of things in which can basically make something more daunting than it actually is. I think the realization is, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. One foot in front of the other is something that would just kind of eliminate those feelings. I think for me, just generally in life and the way that I've been going around doing certain things, is surrounding myself with people that are heading in the same route as myself. You know, when I was obviously doing IT and doing that, obviously I was in uni, I was surrounded by everyone else going down that route. When I moved and pivoted to film and TV, yes, I was working on amazing big, high-end TV shoots and feature films, but I thought it was equally important for me to also surround myself with people who are just looking to write, and directors and producers who are looking to start their own stuff. And so technically we were all in one small hub and kind of figuring out together, which was an amazing thing, because I think it was just an exchange, right? Like, I'm pursuing my things, they're pursuing certain things. We're both congratulating and supporting each other. I think it's super important to find a hub within the spaces that you want to pursue in life. So that is for him if he wants to go down the writer route, the director route, or the fashion route. I think it's super important to surround yourself with those individuals, and also realize it's nice to, yes, to think about the goal, but also realize this is the long-term goal, right? And so if you know that you can, by the way, just go in 10 years time, this is going to happen. If it happens in 2 years time, blessings on blessings, do you know what I mean? If it happens in 5 years of blessings, do you know what I mean? If it happens further than 10 years, you got to the 10-year mark, so 1 or 2 years extra, no harm. I think it's super important just to be like, the first level or the first year that you plan to pursue something is the year of learning, and surround yourself with those individuals who plan to go down the route that you want to go down, and just surround yourself with that information. I think it's super important, because not only that is hey similar to that. I mean, I think the person who's also equally active in mentioning this also is Mr. Beast. In the majority of his videos, what he would say as a kid, he would surround himself with individuals who would talk about YouTube in their free time, and that would be awfully consuming. Matter of fact, actually, I've actually never disclosed this ever, but when I started posting on YouTube, I had a whole I had a small little community who I still have today, like people that I surround myself in that YouTube space. Hopefully it's going to be the same for Twitch as well. People who are also like-minded, but I think for me, especially when fear, because he mentioned living in fear, when fear is attached to certain things, that's when you need to surround yourself with people who are also looking to do certain things that you would like to also pursue in that kind of avenue. I think it's super important to do that. I think for me with Twitch, it's much more, do you know what I mean? It's much more, I could just go live and I'm good. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I'll just say, if you have that, self-doubt, living in fear, things like that, you need to surround yourself with more people in that. I think also what he mentioned, what did he say about something about speaking up? Let me just share screen again. Okay, here. I think a person like me speaking about this would encourage others to step up too. So now we'll step up too. I think it's great that he's having this conversation. I think also, like, it's normal to turn to the internet because someone might have the answers about how I can move next, and I think it's definitely important. I will say the sad thing, the reality is, and by the way, this is very true, when you speak about your struggles, whether that is online or any other place, no one really gives a damn, and that's the reality of it. Being very plainly simple, people love when you've overcome and you've overachieved, and they just love to celebrate. Everyone wants to be in the celebrating mood, which is totally fine. I think that I think those conversations sadly those conversations should only be happening in the circle in which who are also pursuing it in your niche. The interesting thing about the internet, like, everyone looks to use the internet in their kind of particular way. People come to the internet to be entertained, people come to the internet to relate, people come to the internet for various different things. I think people who might be like him, who might be want to pursue fashion or want to direct, write, or act, for example, may look at this and be like, oh, okay, so am I, and appreciate that. But I'll say anyone else who don't fit those, they won't. And therefore, I understand what he's saying about other people to speak up, but I just, sadly, the internet isn't, it will never become that space. And it's because, it's either understanding that a minute, and that is being 5% of your audience would appreciate that type of comment and that type of conversation to be had. But I don't think it's one of those where the conversation, or I don't see it, and I might be naive, but I don't see it ever changing. And the only reason I say that is because these conversations have been ongoing for years. And let's just put it this way, like, I'm sure if someone's mentioned, they'd be like, you're upset, people will laugh. Like, will laugh in your face, and that's just reality. Like, people just take and get what they want. And so it's just making sure that you go to your certain circles. And I think the reason why I'm making this very clear, obviously it fits to him, but also anyone else who is looking for advice about, okay, I want to do this, or I want to pivot in my life or my career, like what is the best way of going about it. And I think that for me has been massively helpful. Not only that, like obviously I'm surrounded by amazing starting upcoming like actors, writers, producers, directors. Obviously I'm also surrounded by people who are established in the industry for 30 plus years, and I'm super grateful to have them, and you know, ask them for advice. And so I'll just say making sure to be in those worlds, and basically pursuing that. And one thing I massively glad that he's doing is definitely make sure to continue doing streaming. And yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say. But I just wanted to say that because obviously it's I think for him, he's in this interesting bit where he's like looking to pivot, and he's kind of trying to figure out how to do that. And so this is all quite new to him. And I hope to, hopefully, if he does ever come across this video, or whoever's meant to come across this video, hopefully they can take this advice on, and know, oh, okay, this is how I should, this is the reality and what I should be doing. Cool.